Woohoo! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Houston. We have a problem. Charity show, and you freaks have already broke the bank. Holy cow! I raised the ceiling this time because I discovered you folks were really generous, but you just blew it out of the water again before it even came on. In half an hour, you raised $624 for the Helen Keller International Fund. Holy smokes! There's I got to go through the things. Anonymous donor donated $5. Matt Daynard donated. Thank you. Bossy donated. Anonymous donated $5. Holy smokes! Anonymous donated $500. Goodness gracious! One person closed out the entire goal right there. Tadas Mikhalauskas. Tadas Mikhalauskas. I hope I'm saying that right. Donated, thank you. Another anonymous, another anonymous, another anonymous, another anonymous, another anonymous, another anonymous. Jeremy Gavisk, another anonymous. Josh Pet Pals, Tennessee, thank you, bud. Another anonymous. Felix, thank you. Another anonymous. Interweb user, thank you so much. Goodness gracious. $634 raised. You guys are fantastic. I don't understand about what YouTube sets us up is that you can't attach a question to your donations like you would a super chat. So I can't. I'm gonna have to like try and eyeball this the chat as best I can right now. So yeah. So news. Republicans successfully filibustered the debt ceiling yesterday, which means if nothing is agreed to by sometime on Thursday, the government shuts down. And we are on fumes. Basically, just paying for whatever interest on debt we have. And if we fail on the interest payments at all, then the entire global economy collapses, and that's where we are. Excuse me, I just wolfed down a meal, and I am really burpy. I've got like 5 minutes. So let's see here. So yeah, debt ceiling. Metamaterial did all right today. It kept going up. Sears was bouncing all over the place. Sears went from like fractions of a penny to 18 cents to 5 cents to 20 cents, and I have no idea what it's at right now. I think the sell button gets turned off at some point, and that it's only experts, big institutions are allowed to trade it. I have no idea how they will get a hold of your shares if they need them. So I don't know what that means. And I've heard nothing about the results of their hearing at all. I guess we'll hear if there's a ruling of some kind that comes out. But yeah, so the stock was like all over. It's totally like a pinball today. What else is going on? I haven't had too much time to check too much stuff. Citadel tweeted a whole bunch of stuff on Twitter about how Ken Griffin is not the bad guy everyone says he is, and that he didn't lie. And on the 27th of January, he didn't do all these things. But wasn't it the 28th when the buy button got turned off, not the 27th? Pretty sure that was the date. And so they're like, he didn't do anything wrong on the 27th. But I'm pretty sure it was the 28th when the buy button got turned off for all those folks that route their orders through Citadel. I mean, shenanigans did happen. Those guys are a bunch of lying creeps, and they have no problem. They have no moral qualms with lying to Congress or lying to the rest of us. Ken Griffin lied, and so did Vlad, and so did everyone else associated with that. Okay. Holy smokes, you guys are still donating. Oh my goodness. Anonymous. Thank you. Dr. Stonk, thank you so much. Another anonymous. Deck P, thank you. Bullish, thank you. Anonymous. Oh my goodness. So many anonymouses. Okay. Let's try and get to some questions. I think that's all the news I had to cover at the top, I believe. Oh, talk about the Helen Keller Institute, who we're raising money for today. They are one of the highest rated charities in existence. Over 97% of all the money donated goes to their causes. So they've got really, really low administrative costs. And they basically help people living with sight impairedness. And they also help people that have treatable versions of blindness or impaired vision. And they get them the surgeries they need, cataract surgeries, stuff like that. So, they help people all over the world that don't necessarily have first world ability to get, fine glasses and technology like that, but they will go to other countries and get people glasses, get people cataract surgery, help them with things like river blindness and stuff like that. So they're a fantastic charity, and I want to thank everybody so much for jumping in here and helping them out. This is probably the biggest charity that I've selected so far of the three. They're a pretty big charity, but they do a lot of great work. And, all of us as we age, our vision is going to get more terrible. And we all know what it's like to kind of go blind as we get older. I was reading, there's a Facebook group that I'm a member of called something like, did that degenerate David Avocado Wolf put you up to this? And they just post like weird new age hippie crap that are absolutely usually detrimental to the person. And one guy was bragging about sun gazing, and he was like, I could only gaze at the sun for a few seconds at a time, but I've worked my way up and I've gotten more used to it, and I can now gaze at the sun for as long as I want, absorb all the sun's power. And I was like, dude, you just made yourself go blind. That's why you can stare at the sun for as long as you want. You didn't help out your pineal gland, you just blew out your rods and cones. Okay. Let's see what you folks have to talk about today. All right. No, Martin Tunez, first question right off the bat is about Ken Griffin. Ken Griffin lied. He did. Okay. Nobody Z, do you think what happened in GME, meaning desensitization to stock price, will have lasting effect and make people better investors, not easily shaken by price movements? Oh, heck yeah. The fact that we can ride a roller coaster where our stock rises 200% and we do nothing, and it drops 50% and we still do nothing, I think has like calloused everybody's souls. And we can ride this stuff out, and this means that the short attacks don't work anymore. The only time people are really, truly, honestly going to sell is when the price is so ridiculous, they're like, fine, you got me, I'll sell. Or if the naked shorting is eliminated and companies are actually trading based on their fundamentals. The fact that that there isn't a single stock price out there based on the fundamentals of the company, there isn't. I mean, we have zombie stocks. We have thousands of zombie stocks rising from the dead. Atari rose today. Atari doesn't exist anymore. Yesterday, it was Lehman Brothers that rose 200%. These companies don't exist. Their stock price is not based on fundamentals in any way, shape, or form. They should be zero, and they shouldn't exist. But they're still bouncing around out there because they're on someone's sheets. And there's a whole bunch of short positions that never got closed out. So, until naked shorting ceases to exist, stocks cannot trade based on fundamentals. And, they're tied in there is corporate stock buybacks. We have Microsoft is going to spend $60 billion on stock buybacks in the near future. Dell announced they're going to spend $5 billion on stock buybacks. These folks seem to be fully aware that that the market's going to take a hit, and they're going to falsely improve the price of their stocks by doing buybacks like this. So I'm noticing in the corner of my eye here, my computer says excellent connection, but my video keeps freezing. I'm sorry if it is. Apologize. Again, island internet, man. Comcast. Okay. Okay. All right. Big Dick Anon just came in swinging. Yeah, man, that's amazing. Holy crap, we're $800. Oh my goodness, we are 10 minutes into my show and we've already raised $800. This is incredible. You folks are like the greatest. It's the best. These Cherry Tuesday shows are just like are my feeds my soul throughout the month. It's fantastic. And I already, oh my goodness, I made a promise. The National MS Society is going to be next month. October is going to be National MS Society is who we're going to raise money for. So that'll be the fourth Tuesday of next month, which I have no idea what my schedule's like in a month, but I will make time for a show on that Tuesday. Okay. Looking for the questions. People talking about the bar. When in July we raised money for the Stalking Victims Resource Center, and we raised $560 for them, and then I think the ad revenue was another $300. So we raised $800 and something for that group, and I was like, that's fantastic. But I didn't think it was going to be like, that kind of generosity would happen. And so the next time around, I was like, I'll set the goal at $200, and if we hit it, awesome. And then we did $2,500, and so I'm like, okay, they can't be this generous all the time. I'm gonna set. I'll raise the bar to like 500 and hope we hit that. Because I keep thinking in my brain that if I make the bar like $1,000, we'll never hit it, and it'll just look sad. But you guys are $834. This is fantastic. All right, Ricardo Pestic is giving me some coordinates. Let us see where we're gonna go. All right, go scene. Go Google Earth. Click on Google Earth. Paste it. You guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, head North America. Going, is that Colorado or Wyoming? What is it? It looks like a penis. So sort of retention pond? Oh, potash pond. Okay. Yeah, it's retention pond for, I guess, the coal mining operation. So we got ourselves the Texas Gulf Pond A Dingle Dangle. Yeah, thank you. That's a good one. Skeet skeet. That's what that's all about. All right. So where's the mining operation? Is it here? Is this the mining operation? That looks like it. That must be the mining operation there. And then the retention pond for their waste is here. Texas Gulf Sulfur. They were the ones that had the Kidd Creek mine originally. So the Kidd Creek mine, I've talked about this before. It's up here in Timmins. Is that Timmins? Timmins. So the largest gold strike in human history happened here in Timmins, Ontario, kind of halfway between Lake Huron and Hudson Bay. And it's really flat out here. You can watch your dog run away for days. Come on, there, Timmins. And the Kidd Creek mine is about 10 miles north of town. It's up here with if the internet can ever download Google Earth here. There it is. There's Kidd Creek mine. That's the deepest hole in the Western Hemisphere. And because the Earth is an oblate spheroid, it is actually technically the closest point to the center of the Earth a human being can ever get. And it's about 10 or 11,000 feet deep is the mine. And it's got 2,500, 3,000 kilometers of tunnels in it. This used to be the Texas Gulf Sulfur Mine. And because it's called sulfur mine because there's these things called volcanic metal sulfides. And these volcanic metal sulfides are like pyrite, little bits of pyrite that crystallize in this ancient volcanic matter. And this stuff is like 3 billion years old. And inside that pyrite is really high concentrations of gold, silver, copper, nickel, things like that. And so they take that sulfur and they melt it down and they get all their precious metals out of it. So they got this big mine here. And then in town, there's this one is the Goldcorp Dome Mine. So the Dome Mine is where the original gold strike was. And there's like 10 million ounces of gold that came out of here. The Porcupine Mine is somewhere over here. And another like 15 million ounces came out of that. The Hollinger Mine, is that? Nope. Hollinger Mine, somewhere over here. Like 20 million ounces of gold came out of that. The Kid Creek Mine, which is technically a copper mine, has produced 20 million ounces of gold as a byproduct of their copper operations. And then this is the processing center. So a train runs from this mine all the way out to here. This is their metallurgical center where they melt things and dump acid on stuff and then get all the gold out, and then they dump all their rock into this huge pile, which is pretty much the highest point around, is this pile of rock that's come out of that mine. And it's gigantic. It could be a ski slope probably someday. Oh yeah, why was I talking about that? Because Texas Gulf Sulfur, Texas Gulf Potash Mine, probably same company that originally founded the Kid Creek Mine, be my guess. All right, let's jump back. Holy shit, $877. So anyway, Penis Pond took us to there. Thank you, Ricardo. That was an excellent coordinate. Okay. I see numbers. I see friends. Okay. So, yes, Ricardo, what are those? That was a retention pond for basically mine waste that comes out of their potash mine. Jeremy Gavisk. I have been looking for a good dividend stock and found Orchid Island. They pay out a monthly dividend of 7 cents. So we're looking at 21 cents per quarter. So about 84 cents a year, and it's trading at $5. What the heck? Okay, we have to go to oh shoot. Go there. Click on that. Go to turn off Google Earth. We're going to look at this sucker. What are they called? Orchid Island, ORC. Oops, I put an ampersand, or I put an and sign. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to do the dollar sign. ORC, $5. More about Orchid Island Capital. Trading at $5. The market cap's only 691 million, so not very many shares. Profit earning ratio 31. Holy crap. Operating income went down a little bit. Net change in cash went up a whole bunch. Cash on hand. Where's your dividend, buddy? Where's your dividend? Why aren't you listening? Listing net profit, operating cash on hand. Dividend yield 15% is a crazy yield. Holy smokes! Is that like a recent? They've been doing a special dividend, and that's why that is crazy high. Normally like 4%. People are like, oh, that's really good. 15.6. Holy smokes! What are those folks up to? We have to dive deep. Anyone who's dove deep into this, by all means, chime in. What the heck? That's ridiculous. Like, if you're giving out 20 cents a quarter, which I think is kind of what it should be, like a $40 stock, somewhere around there, $30 stock. That's crazy. I don't know what's going on, but that seems like if that's a regular payment and not just like a one-off type thing, that stock should be worth a lot more. Weird. What a weird jump around to the price too. Look at that thing. That's some definite ceiling and floor levels right there. They're bouncing back and forth. Strange. Weird. ORC. I'm going to write that down so I'll look at it more later. ORC. Okay. Good find there, Jeremy. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there. Oh, dadgummit. I forgot to turn off the intro again. Sigh. Okay, I'm turning it off. It's not going to come on again. There we go. Okay. Center yourself, Houston. Center yourself. Okay. Woo. All right. If you believe there'll be a MOAS, then the price you buy GME AMC is irrelevant. This is from Bill Coyne. $500, $900, $2,000 stock is cheap. It's true. I mean, the difference is that when the price gets low, it just means you can get more of it. So when the price is $500, you might only be able to get one versus being able to get 10 of them, right? But if the price of the stock hits the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions, you got a screaming deal. And for $500, you can retire, right? So, that's why buy it when you can. That seems to be the big thing. Okay. Oh my goodness, we're at $921. I'm gonna have to run through and do some thank yous again. So let's see. Dr. Stonk was the last one I had done the thank you for. Oh my goodness, so many chats have popped in here. I'm already lost. All right, there's Deck P. There's Dr. Stonk. Okay. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. Thank you, Skillful Thread. That's a good name. Another Anonymous. Tough Gnarl. Thank you. Lugs. Another excellent name. Anonymous is really just killing it today. Stalker. Thank you. DEA got that dope. That's a good name. All right. Bones donated. Don donated. Cybernetic Kiwi donated. All the way from New Zealand. And Hawaiian Punch. Thank you. Thank you, folks. We're at $926. We're almost $1,000 donated for the vision impaired. And we are 23 minutes into the show, and I don't think I've even gotten to the questions from people that by the time the show started. Okay. Happy birthday. Can you explain reverse repo and how it relates to MOAS in terms that an idiot can understand? It's me. I'm an idiot. This is from Travis Wright 13. So repo market is when the government buys bonds from banks. And reverse repo is when banks buy bonds from the Fed. So sorry, I read that wrong. Repo is when the Fed buys bonds from the banks, and reverse repo is when the banks buy bonds from the Fed. And it ties into there's this market where hedge funds need cash, and they need quick capital. So what they do is they take their bonds, they say, hey banks, we need money, and the bank's like, I don't want to give you money, and they're like, well, I will give you a whole bunch of government treasury bonds to you as collateral if you give me some cash. The banks are like, fine, but you're paying interest on it. It's a loan. So they're like, okay, so it's a quick loan. So they'll send the bonds over to the banks. The banks will give them their cash, and then they pay a maintenance fee plus interest, and they do whatever they need to do, whatever deal it is they need to do really quick, get their quick cash after a day, week, or month. And then after that short term is done, they give the cash back to the banks, they take their bonds back, and then they're ready to do that deal again. And those bonds are assets under management purchased using cash from the clients that those hedge funds represent. So when your Michael Jordans or whoever is rich and joins a hedge fund, they give a bunch of money to that hedge fund. The hedge fund largely buys treasury bonds with it. So those have a really solid, stable value. And then they use that as collateral to do a lot of their trades and quick deals to make quick cash. So reverse repo, so in that repo market, the banks can then take those bonds, sell them to the Fed, and make quick cash off it also. So they can make cash two ways, and especially if they think the value of bonds might go down or something, they can short them that way. Reverse repo is when the Fed is selling the bonds to the banks. So the banks have too much cash, and too much cash can be seen as a liability for banks for some reason. And the banks are like, we need to get rid of some cash. We need to get some solid assets. So they're buying by the trillions right now, a whole bunch of bonds from the Fed. Now, how it can relate to MOAS is that right now we are in a debt crisis. Not that the debt itself is a crisis, it's that the United States hasn't authorized the ability to raise more debt, and so we can't borrow from Peter to pay Paul. We can't pay the interest on the debt we have unless we are allowed to print more money, essentially. And we need Congress to give us the permission to print that money, because if we don't have that permission, we stop printing the money and we don't pay our debts. And if we don't pay our debts, the value of those bonds plummet. And they are no longer the stable foundation for investment portfolios around the world. They become a giant shrinking liability. So if the banks have spent $1 trillion or more buying bonds from the Federal Reserve to get cash off their hands, and all of a sudden the value of those bonds shrink a whole bunch because the United States defaulted on our debt payments, then that could be a giant MOAS trigger, because every single solitary portfolio around the world, including the giant banks that facilitate a lot of this liquidity for trading and whatnot, all of a sudden they might lose 10, 20, 30% on the value of a whole bunch of their hard assets, which will trigger stocks to collapse as well, which will just bring down the assets under management for Social Security, for pensions, for sovereign wealth funds, for banks, for hedge funds, for financial institutions. They will all see a giant crash in the values of their assets under management, and everyone's getting margin called. Everyone's screwed at that point. And they won't be able to meet the liquidity requirements because no one's printing cash, therefore there's no cash going around, and everyone's screwed. So that's kind of where we are. And that's why the current reverse repo market could really screw us, combined with the debt ceiling crisis. So, yeah. It's a good question. It's a good question, Travis. And that's why we have to pay attention to what's going on with Congress so much right now, because if they can't get the debt ceiling raised, the global economy crashes. And there's nothing anyone will be able to do about it, because we're basically being held hostage by Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell, because they're playing a stunt pretending like debt matters, and government debt doesn't matter. It doesn't. The interest on debt is lower than inflation, therefore it's essentially free money. It'd be like, you're a rich person, you could, with your cash, go out and buy a house. Just pay cash for it, write a check, whatever. The house is yours. And yeah, that house will increase with I don't know, right now it's 15% a year or so in its value, which is quite a large, steady growth. But what you could also do, because you're rich and you have really great credit, is you could take out a loan for that house. Let's say it's $1 million house. And you can take out that loan for that house at $1 million, and it's at 1 or 2% interest, because interest rates are really low right now. And you just pay that 1 or 2% interest. You take the $1 million you would have spent on that house with a check, and you dump that into a Vanguard fund that earns 8% a year. Or you dump it into Orchid Island Capital that's 15% in dividend alone. And you then not only get the equity in the house as it becomes worth 15% more each year, but you also get the 8 to 15% on the other $1 million you could have spent on that house. And so now you're only losing 1 or 2% to interest on the loan and gaining, 7 to 11% on everything you do with that money. So the U.S. government, when the U.S. government takes out a loan via these government bonds at fractions of a percent sometimes, and inflation overall makes that amount of debt you took out worth 3% less every year, then you're essentially getting free money. And so complaining about debt and government budget is just politicizing. Debt doesn't matter. It doesn't. We proved that it doesn't matter. We've been doing it for 40 years this way. And the fact that every single research, I'm saying those words wrong, every single investment institution in the world bases their assets under management on United States debt means how important those bonds are. If those bonds didn't exist, Social Security would vaporize overnight. If those bonds didn't exist, your pension funds would vaporize overnight. If those bonds didn't exist, hedge funds couldn't exist. All of them are based so solidly on U.S. government debt that holding the government hostage and refusing to raise the debt ceiling is putting every single solitary person's investment at risk around the world. It's a silly, selfish, dumb idea. So I'll talk about that forever. Okay. A Chicago Transit minority. How is it possible that Sears holding price was at times below the bid and the ask? I don't know. It did weird things today. Let's see if we can bring up Sears holding company. It did all sorts of weird stuff today. Okay, so we had. All right, got to turn on scene. All right, there we go. So it was at 20 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents, 5. It was at nothing, fractions of a penny to start the day, and its peak was what, 18? So it's been all over the place today. Let's look at the last 5 days. We can see that, you know, it's pretty steady up in the 20s, and then all of a sudden, yesterday went to basically zero, and yeah, it's been bouncing all over the place. Weird. I don't know. I honestly don't know why or how or what's going on, because no news has come out about their bankruptcy. I'm pretty sure the sell button got turned off for retail. The buy button got turned off for us on the 3rd, and now the sell button's turned off. So I don't know what's going on. But basically, if you have Sears, you're stuck with it. You can't do anything with it. You're just waiting for something to occur with the holding company and bankruptcy, and we're waiting to see what's happening with it. The only article that's come out in the last day is this article, which is talking about how Sears going forward is going to be the Sears home stores, which are like more like kind of like Ace Hardware stores. I think they're smaller, they're more community oriented, and there's just going to be those, and they're not going to be the large scale department stores anymore, which really mentioned nothing about the hearing yesterday for the bankruptcy. So I have no clue. I am totally in the dark until someone finally writes an article on this stuff. I don't know. Okay. Jumping in. Tadas Mikalauskas. Hey Houston, love your talks. I'm from Europe, and for me, or basically anyone else here, U.S. two-party government seems quite silly. What do you think stops U.S. from implementing better, more open system? Well, the U.S. has what's called a first-past-the-post system. Great Britain has it as well. The UK has it as well, but it's different because they're parliamentary. So in the U.S., someone who doesn't have the majority vote, someone who has just a plurality, meaning you can win an election with 30% of the vote in most areas in the United States. And that's because if you have a whole bunch of candidates available that are running for same office, you might have, a Republican and a Democrat are the main ones, right? You might have a green candidate, a libertarian, a socialist party, a Nazi, a reform party, whatever. So you have a whole bunch of folks, and if your main right and left parties, your Democrats and your Republicans, are the larger parties, then any other votes from those groups pull voters from those two main parties. So the Greens will pull from the Democrats, and so on, and which means you can get elections where the Democrats and Republicans can win with far less than a majority of the vote. The 1992 presidential election, Ross Perot ran as a pretty solid third-party candidate and took a whole bunch of votes from the Republicans. So Bill Clinton won with a minority. He won with like 46% of the vote. He ran again. Ross Perot ran again in 96. Bill Clinton won again in 96. In 2000, Ralph Nader ran a pretty strong campaign, and it could be argued he took just enough votes from Al Gore that he lost the election. The same thing can be said for in 2000. 2016 with Hillary Clinton that the candidates on the left pulled, like Jill Stein pulled just enough votes from Hillary Clinton, even though Hillary Clinton actually had a majority of the votes and won the popular vote by 3 million. The way our silly electoral system works meant that Trump still won the electoral votes because each state gets a set amount. So we have a silly system that needs to be changed at the constitutional level. And the fact that the two-party system benefits from the way it's written means they're probably not going to change it. So we may never see an improvement on how our elections are run. Like I would love to get rid of the Senate. Senate shouldn't exist. Get rid of that. It's just a redundancy full of old, slow people who don't understand how anything works. And have a much, much, much larger House. In the Constitution, as originally written, was basically you'd have one representative for about every 30,000 people, which would mean the House representatives should be like 10,000 people, and not capped at 435 like it is today. And it also means that rural states have way more power than they should. The original Constitution gave rural states way too much power because most people were rural and the wealthiest landowners were rural. You can look at like the 1790 election and you can see that there were more voters in Massachusetts and in Pennsylvania and in New York than there was in Virginia. But Virginia got more electoral votes, and Virginia dominated the U.S. presidency for like the first 36 years of our existence. And this is because the way the Constitution was written was only men got to vote, only white men got to vote, only white men who owned property got to vote. So you had to have deed to land in order to be able to vote. Well, in places like New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, there's a whole bunch of tiny city lots. Therefore, there are way more voters in those places, right? Because there's way more owners of land in cities. In places like Virginia, only had like 1,000 landowners because they had these huge, giant, sprawling plantations. So if you left it up to just the votes of white male landowners, these more urban states with large cities would have crushed Virginia. So they came up with a 3/5 compromise. And the 3/5 compromise was this horribly racist law that said slaves get to count as 3/5 of a person. So these southern states, which had very few landowners because they had giant sprawling plantations, got to count all of the slaves in their state as part of the populations towards the power of voting in the electoral system. And so states like Virginia that had a huge number of slaves all of a sudden had way more voting power. So each vote in Virginia counted, 10, 20 times more than each vote in Massachusetts. And so that's how Virginia dominated the presidency for the first 40 years of our country. And 36 years, whatever it was. And so that didn't change until after the Civil War. They got rid of the 3/5 compromise. They allowed all people who are citizens, all men who are citizens to vote. And then it wasn't until like 1919 when women got the 19th Amendment, women got the chance to vote, 20th Amendment, I can't remember which one. Women finally got a chance to vote. So they've only been able to vote for 100 years. And then the age limit of voting got reduced from 21 to 18 during Vietnam because people were like, hey, yeah, I'm 18. I can go get drafted and die for the country, but I'm not allowed to vote. And so, okay, fine, we can lower the voting age to 18. So we haven't had fairly ubiquitous voting standards until fairly recently in our history. But that still doesn't change the fundamentals of the system, that the electoral system is silly, that it's there to give way too much power to the minority, to rural voters, than urban voters. And at the founding of our country, we were 98% rural. We're all farmers. We're a whole bunch of farmers. And even Thomas Jefferson was like, farmers should have all the power because farmers are the only ones that do anything. And he wanted a system that rewarded farmers. Well, now we're like 80% urban and only 3% work in agriculture. But those agriculture states have way more power than more urban states. So a state like Wyoming, which has the lowest population of any state in our country, they've got 2 senators and 1 representative. So they have 1 representative for the 450,000 people or whatever are in Wyoming, plus our 2 senators. And a state like California, which has 40 million people, they get 50-something Congress people and 2 senators. And those 50-something Congress people represent 700,000 or 800,000 people each. So they've got almost twice as many people under them, and so their votes are worth about half as much as the vote of someone from Wyoming. So I'd love to see a system that not only made like the number of representatives equal to the lowest populated state. So if Wyoming has 450,000 people, then each district around the country will be 450,000 people also, to kind of even that stuff out. But I'd also like to see proportional representation. So you have a state, I don't know, let's say, I think Washington has technically 11 representatives, but let's say they have 10. Let's say where I live, there's 10 representatives for the population. And you would just list, each party would list 10 candidates, kind of like they do in parliamentary systems, where you got your number one choice all the way down to your 10th choice. And so if say that party were to get 100% of the vote, all 10 representatives for that state would come off that list. If they get 40% of the vote, just the top 4 go to Washington, D.C. and represent the state. And then the next group might get 20% of the vote, so they get 2 of them. And then other parties might get 10%, so they get 1 representative each. And that would force coalitions to happen. And those coalitions, I think, would make for a lot more progress, because they all have demands. And they're like, I'm not going to help you run this government unless we can join together and you support building bridges across the Columbia River. And so in order to get power, the party with plurality will be, okay, you can join our party. We are going to pass a law that means you're going to get bridges across the Columbia River, and stuff like that would help. But right now, with our first past the post system, where a leading candidate with only 30% of the vote can technically win an election, means you're going to have a hegemony of this two-party system. And until that two-party system changes the Constitution, which they're not going to do, we're going to be stuck with it for a really, really, really long time. Okay. That was a long explanation. Sorry. Okay. I'm like 40 minutes behind the chat. I'm going to try to scroll a little bit here. And, Felix sent me some coordinates, so let's see where Felix is going to take us to. Looks like somewhere in the Northern Hemisphere. Because you guys love your coordinates. Click on Google. Oops. Got to Google Earth. Doink. We are going to Turkey. There we are. There's a Wikipedia. And we're in the trees. What's the Wikipedia say? Kayakov. Looks like ruins. Ruins of some kind. Like a whole bunch of ruins, a whole bunch of foundations of old buildings. Do they give me a street view if I go all the way in? Yeah. Nope. No street view. Let's see here. I'm going to click on Kayakov. Full article. Here we go. Ancient city known in Greek as Carmelosis, shortened into Lebosis. Late antiquity. East-West schism. Massacres of Greek Christian minorities happened in World War One. Looks like an abandoned Greek Orthodox town. Well, that's a cool ghost town. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Huh. All right. Huh. Well, that's a cool little ghost town. I'll have to try and check that out someday. Looks like, so a bunch of Greeks fled Turkey to Greece during the Turkish-Greek War and just abandoned the whole town. So it's a whole town up here on this hill that's all abandoned now. That's wild. Ghost towns are so cool. I just love walking around in them. They're just the coolest. Okay, I go back to Google Earth. Go back to Big Houston. Okay. Eli or L. Is that ELL? I think it's EL. Houston, honestly not trying to spread FUD, but what's your thoughts on the possibility that MOAS is impossible due to the fact that that borders are meaningless next to international opera interest? I don't think that really has much to do with whether MOAS is possible or not, because these stocks trade under U.S. laws. So they got it. They have to do what the U.S. laws say because these are U.S. companies, and so they do have some there is some authority over them in that regard. So, if they try shenanigans, they do international shenanigans. They have international shell companies. They've got places they offshore money. They like to hide piles of cash in places like Ireland or the Caymans or Bahamas or Aruba or British Virgin Islands and stuff. So there are loopholes around the world for them to stake their cash, but the stocks themselves trade in regulated markets. And if the regulators are forced to actually regulate, then the MOAS happens. The only way it doesn't happen is by them continually destroying the investments of others and making the market less likely to have investors in the future. Okay. Legacy 10 Productions. Hi, Houston. What are your thoughts on the upcoming Mariners' possible playoff run? You think they have a chance? First time in a couple of decades. Yeah, it's been 20 years since the Mariners made the playoffs, since they had the greatest regular season of all time and then choked the Yankees post 9/11, which was kind of inevitable. Who can't rally around New York after 9/11? But the Mariners are such a weird anomaly. Their pitching is god awful. Their hitting is even worse. Like, they can't get, I think their team batting average is around 200. It's absolutely terrible. But for some reason, they keep winning games. For those of you who aren't baseball fans, you probably can understand statistics, but there's this thing called run differential. And the runs are the points scored in a game. And most teams that make it to the playoffs have a run differential where they've scored like hundreds of more runs in a season than their opponents, and therefore they're winning, right? Because they're scoring more runs. The Mariners have scored 60 less runs than their opponents, but for some reason keep winning games. And it's because they'll win a close game, and then they'll get blown out of the water. And they'll win a close game, and then they get blown out of the water. And so they got this negative run differential, which is a statistical anomaly, and somehow keep just winning. And I don't get it. They're not that good. They're not a good team. I don't know how they keep winning games. They're very, very mediocre, and they're only 2 games out. They win if they win a few more games, they could make the playoffs, and it's absolute game changer. It's weird. So, yeah, they would. I think they would be probably the worst team to ever make the playoffs, statistically, if they make it. There's nothing on paper that says they should be able to win games like they do. So, I don't know. It's weird. Okay. Stock Stalker, what is one of the biggest mysteries, or maybe 2, that fascinate you and you would love to help find answers to? Oh, man. The Tunguska event is pretty mysterious. Like, we have ideas about what it is. If you guys don't know about the Tunguska event, let me, come on. Let's exit ground. Okay, exit that. Zoom out. Got to put on the scene here. Google Earth. Tunguska. Take me there. So as we spiral around, is this the right Tunguska? Okay, sorry, got to zoom out so I can make sure I can see where I am. All right, we're somewhere out here. Is this the one? Is this the right Tunguska? What do I want? Maybe. Oh, wait, no. Tunguska meteorite. That's what I want. Yeah, I thought it was further east. A couple of Tunguskas in Russia. Okay. So this spot out here in 1908, there was a gigantic explosion. So something came from outer space, flew through Russian airspace, and exploded not very high off the ground, maybe a couple thousand feet off the ground, and wiped out a huge swath of forest. And the Russian government sent scientists after scientists after scientists out here trying to find remnants of whatever it was that exploded, and no one could find it. But 1,000 square miles of trees got blown over by whatever explosion it was, and the best we can imagine is that it's probably not a rock, so it probably wasn't an asteroid that came in and exploded, like what happened over Russia in 2013. Does that happen? But it was likely a small comet. So a big ball of ice came in, exploded with great force in the atmosphere, and just wiped out 1,000 square miles of trees in the area. But because they found no remnants of any meteorites at all, so they think it was probably ice that exploded and then melted and evaporated. So there was nothing left. But what's crazy is the way it came in is that it blew out what they call a butterfly pattern. Let me see if I can find a picture of a butterfly pattern here. Okay, I got to go to Chrome, so which means I have to turn off Google Earth. Chrome. This is going to be butterflies. There, Tunguska. Okay, so here we have the trees that were blown over in this huge explosion, and they all blow out, kind of radiating outwards, and they radiate outwards from a central point, and they made what they call a butterfly pattern because the trees in the dead center stayed upright, and then they kind of blew out in this weird butterfly wing pattern, and they had never seen it before. Like no one ever seen an explosion this large, and so they didn't. They knew it exploded upwards, and because of the angle of the explosion, a whole bunch more trees blew out down to the south and up to the north. So it must have been coming at an angle, but they didn't quite know much about the physics of it until we started dropping nuclear bombs on Japan. And the buildings in Nagasaki and Hiroshima made similar patterns, where the buildings right underneath the explosion, because they detonate this thing in the air to get the largest swath of explosions, stayed upright, and then they blew outwards in this weird butterfly pattern that was what they saw happen in Tunguska. So it's one of those mysteries in that we kind of have an idea of what it is. That probably was a comet, but we don't know for sure because it happened in such a remote area that we weren't able to gather the data we need. But it was probably the largest natural explosion that outside of a volcano that human beings had ever experienced up to that point. So that's one of those cool mysteries. Yeah, it's just tore down, 1,000 square miles of forest. It's absolutely wild. I'll have to think about number 2 and ponder that in my head. That's the first one that comes to mind. Okay. Holy crap, we're at $1,200. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to do some thank yous while I'm here. Who was the last ones that it was, oh goodness, the chat is just going bonkers. I am totally behind. Okay, Hawaiian Punch was the last one. Tyler Connor, thank you so much. Willie44, thank you. Anonymous. Count Stockula, that's a good name. Thank you so much. We got Urban Greenville, thank you. Manifest Density, thank you. Anonymous, thank you so much. Chris Taylor, thank you. Kevin, Anonymous. Apollo God, Anonymous, thank you so much. We're at $1,200 in less than an hour raised for the Helen Keller International. You guys are fantastic. You guys are like the raddest. And the donation, if for folks that are watching later, because there are a few thousand of you that watch after the fact, there's the donation button should still be there under the video, so you can always donate going forward. So, all right. Okay, oh goodness, there's more. You guys are just pumping the map coordinates today. Okay, let's map coordinate it. Go to scene, go to Google Earth, go to this. This is from Protege Sun. What do you got for me? We are going to Europe. We are going to Belgium. We are going to this spot. What is there? What are you? Your house. Your house? Are you... Yeah, it's a garage. What's on the street level? What's happening? Show me. What? No street view? Oh, there we go. Okay. Buildings. Strata service. Got a Renault. We have... Roger Sun, where are you taking me? There's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing of interest in this spot. You guys do this to me all the time. There's nothing. We have a Renault dealership. We've got a van. We got a car. We got a scooter. We have a, looks like a bay door for deliveries or something, or a big window. And nothing. Nothing else. Where are the bodies? Where's the art? Where is... Oh, there's nothing there. Nothing in the backyard. Curses. Curses, Protege Sun. You took me to nowhere. All right. Back to Big Houston. You guys must just love sending me to places where there's nothing there. Make me wonder what magical thing is happening in that place. Nothing magical is happening. Nothing at all. Okay. Looking for the questions. MG 1982, do we have examples from earlier market crashes that show shorted stock spike as banks start margin calling? Not that I know of. Largely because we haven't had hedge funds go under in this way, and we haven't had retail holding on to these stocks in this way. Because retail always panicked and sold everything. Like, market's dropping, I'm going to sell everything. So that helped whatever liquidations we may have had of hedge funds forcing buying. So yeah, I don't think we have other examples in recent history. We've never had squeezes like this before. We've had a squeeze here and there, but never have so many squeezed all in one year that really truly haven't squeezed yet. That if you catch my drifts, like we have baby squeezes, but we haven't had the squeeze that actually closes positions yet. It has not happened. None of these positions have been closed. So everyone is still like holding tight, waiting for the ridiculous prices on these stocks. So, yeah. The other examples we have are of folks shorting the market specifically ahead of a crash. So as Matt Daynard writes, Michael Burry looked at the fundamentals of the housing market prior to 2008 and said, hey, this thing's going to crash hard. We're going to bet against it. And he and a couple others created short funds, and they're specifically to short the housing market. So they convinced regulators and financial institutions to create these credit default swaps on the mortgage-backed securities market. So they basically were able to short and bet against the housing market. The housing market was going to go down, and then it did, but it didn't really result in short squeezes of stocks or zombie stocks as a result. So this is why it's the MOAS. This is the mother of all short squeezes. It's going to be a once in a financial system event. Okay. Houston, happy birthday. You're following the uranium bull market. Yeah, I've seen uranium prices going up. The last time we had a run like this was 2010 going into 2011. And then Fukushima happened, and the market just bottomed out as Japan and Germany shut down a whole bunch of their reactors. So demand for uranium went down. But what we're seeing is a consolidation of uranium producers, and they're forming kind of an oligarchy or a cartel that's essentially controlling the price of uranium as a result. And so we're seeing uranium prices go up. Kind of similar to how De Beers worked with diamonds in the past, or how chicken and beef producers have been doing, and they're all facing antitrust violations right now, antitrust sanctions. So we might see government antitrust step in and force some competition among uranium producers. The thing is about uranium is that there aren't any new nuclear reactors really getting built, at least ones for power generation. We get nuclear reactors built for nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers and ships like that. But, pretty much for every one of those ships that gets built, one gets destroyed. So it's not like there's more demand for uranium out there than there has been in the past. And no one has really, at least in the United States, no one's built a new nuclear reactor since I think the early 80s or late 70s. There was lots of construction of ones, and then the money all got pulled. Let's see if I can go to scene. We're still on Google Earth. We're going to go to SATSOP. Hope I'm spelling that right. SATSOP, Washington. Okay. Go there now. Across the Atlantic, going over here. Lots of movies get filmed here in SATSOP. So there is this where it is? Yeah. So the SATSOP nuclear power plant was this huge facility that was getting built in the 70s and early 80s that then went bankrupt. And they got 2 cooling towers built. One was built with the cooling apparatus inside, and then the other one had not had the cooling apparatus built inside of it yet. So it's just a big, giant parabolic cone with nothing inside. And I'm not telling you to break the law, but if you happen to be in SATSOP, Washington, and no one's looking, and you hop that fence and you climb inside this west tower right here, and you have one person standing on one side of it, another person standing on the other, you can whisper really quietly, and it sounds like the other person is screaming in your ear, and it is really cool. But I'm not telling you to break the law, but if you happen to break the law, you will get to experience this, and it is awesome. So anyway, the funding for this power plant went belly up in I want to say 1984 or something. I'm sure 83. So construction started in 77, and then it went belly up in 83. And so these nuclear towers, these cooling towers still stand. So you drive by and it looks like a nuclear power plant is there. And they turned this into a business park now. So there's a whole bunch of little industries and stuff with the aesthetics of these giant cooling towers. But all across the U.S. were several nuclear power plants that were being constructed like this. So they never went online, and they're just kind of little ghost towns as a result. So So the United States hasn't had a new nuclear power plant go online in a long time. When was the last one? Let's see what. Okay, Google Earth, turn off. Newest U.S. nuclear power plant. Oh, the wrong search. West Bar. Oh, began operation in 2016. All right. So that's pretty new. Where's nuclear power in the United States? Might give us a list. Let's see here. Nuclear power plants. That's what we want. So 87. So we got that one's a little over 30 years old. 88, 88, 85, 84, 87, 93. So Comanche Peak, that's one. So they first one went up in 90, second one up in 93. So that's fairly recent. 88, 86, 88, 1990, 86, 80, 86, 88, 87, 86, 1990. So a few of them in 1990. 89. 2016. So that's West Bar. And their first reactor went up in 96. So construction started in 73, must have been halted and then continued again and finished in 96. So we've had one power plant in the last 25 years go online. So, yeah. So we've got, looks like this US UAMPS, they have a whole bunch of reactors slated to finish in 2029 or 2030. That's interesting. Any others slated to finish in here? Doesn't look like it. Oh, 2028, we got Blue Castle project. Okay, so we've got 2 plants basically slated to go online sometime in that period. But that really doesn't show that there's much demand, at least in the United States, for increased uranium use, because we haven't had any new power plants go online, and we've had several go offline. So, yeah, closure. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. So we had 42 nuclear power plants go offline since the 1970s, and I don't think we've had just as many come online since then. That's pretty wild. Yeah, weird. Okay, so my guess is that most of that uranium has to be getting exported somewhere. That's not necessarily the United States that is benefiting from it. Although uranium in the United States is largely sold in the United States. There's weird rules about nuclear energy and how it moves around. You folks will remember hearing about the Uranium 1 scandal, which really wasn't a scandal. These folks were trying to tie Uranium 1 to Hillary Clinton because this gentleman made a huge donation to the Clinton Foundation in like 2007 or 2008 before Hillary Clinton ran for president. But the calendar doesn't really line up. So this Canadian guy owned a big uranium mine in Wyoming, and he sold the company in 2007 to another company. And then he collected this big pile of cash. He took that pile of cash and he donated it to a big part of it to the Clinton Foundation. I don't remember his name, but he's a Canadian guy. And then the company that bought his uranium company, like 2 years later, sold it to another company, which happened to be a Russian outfit. And that Russian outfit now controls like 20% of the uranium production in the United States that comes out of this mine in Wyoming. Now, the weirdness from this is that foreign nationals aren't supposed to be allowed to own and operate U.S. mines or mines that are from U.S. federal lands. The 1872 mining law is pretty explicit. It says only Americans can stake claims on U.S. land and operate mines out of these areas. Well, the court rulings that have established that U.S. companies have the rights of citizens, like Citizens United ruling, things like that, have twisted the law in such a way that if a foreign company creates a wholly owned subsidiary based in the United States, they get all the rights of citizenship. And therefore, they can now own and operate a mine inside the United States because there's a company incorporated inside the United States. So that's how this Russian outfit is able to own and operate the largest uranium mine inside the United States on federal land, even though federal law explicitly says foreigners can't operate mines on U.S. government land inside the United States. Because this loophole of being able to state that a corporation is a human being and has the rights of a human being. So there's a giant loophole there, which gives this Russian outfit huge access to United States uranium that's on land that taxpayers own. It's a crazy loophole and probably should be closed if we want to have the spirit of the 1872 law in effect. That's why big foreign companies like Rio Tinto can operate huge copper and gold mines in the United States and stuff on land that's federal land. Okay. We're bouncing all over the place. I love it when we bounce all over the place on the show. We talk about stocks, talk about science, talk about mining operations. Let's see if we can get some space in here. Okay. Need some water is what I need. And again, thank you everybody for donating today. This has been fantastic. All right. I'm only like 45 minutes behind in the chat. Homer's Ghost. Houston been watching Nanotech Security for the last year or so, and a huge jump after earnings in August. Also read an article, potential merger with Metamaterials. Yeah, Metamaterials bought $90 million of Nanotech stock, and they're merging. So there was a technical vote on the merger because there was one written in the bylaws, but Metamaterial now owns the majority of the stock in Nanotech, so the vote, I'm pretty sure, went Metamaterial's way. I don't know too much about Nanotech Security. I just know that they deal with really, really small microscopic things that get printed onto currencies around the world. So a lot of securities, currencies, certificates, checks, weird things like that will have these little tiny microscopic identifiers and security measures installed with that company. So my guess is it's Metamaterial's way of expanding their market into these microtechs, and also getting access to a whole bunch of patents that Nanotech Security has that they can probably use to incorporate into other technologies that they're using. So Nanotech Security saw a huge jump because Metamaterial raised a whole bunch of capital right before their merger, and are sitting on a whole bunch of cash, and so they want to gobble up as many of these patents in their area of expertise, as possible, and because they want to dominate the metamaterial and nanotech and micro markets. Okay. Sue Marshall says it was voted through today, so the merger is happening. Okay. William Morgan just got finished shopping. There's inflation at my grocery store. Eggs are up 12%. Bread's up 15%. 1 pound of ribeye is $19.50. Holy smokes! Yeah, I think we are going to face some really interesting food security issues that coming this fall. Not only do we have problems with supply chain issues, but we have problems also with agriculture workers. We can't get enough of them, so we aren't able to get all the cows milked. We aren't able to pick all the lettuce or pick the fruit off the trees or harvest a lot of things we need to harvest, because the United States has pretty anti-immigrant and migrant laws right now, making it really hard for folks to come in here and do the agriculture work that we require. So we might have food might start getting real expensive in the next few months, especially. In Great Britain, they ran out of fuel. They don't have truck drivers to bring fuel to gas stations, and this is directly the result of Brexit, because a lot of the truck drivers that operated in the UK were Polish immigrants and other immigrants from Eastern Europe that were part of the EU. And the xenophobia behind Brexit basically forced a lot of these folks to leave because they no longer could have jobs in the UK, and they're taking up the jobs like truck driver. And so now there's no truck drivers left to bring fuel to gas stations, and they have no fuel at the gas stations. So now the government of the UK is frantically trying to figure out how to get work visas for truck drivers to come back and do the jobs that people were complaining about they were doing in the first place. So these xenophobic laws against immigrants hurt countries in the end, because immigration usually results in people doing the work that citizens and residents don't want to do. It's something that immigrants have always done. and a role they've always filled across these developed nations. And the minute you make rules saying you can't come here anymore, then all of a sudden, like, oh, there's no one that can clean my house or watch my kids or pick my lettuce or, work in the kitchens at restaurants. And so we've got restaurants all over the place that are limited hours because we can't find workers. Well, guess what? All the workers, they're stuck on the other side of the border in Mexico. And it might sound kind of racist to say that, but for 30 years, if you walked into a kitchen at anywhere, you had a whole bunch of mariachi music playing. And that's because the kitchens were full of immigrants from Central America. And we've made it really hard for those immigrants to come here and work in these kitchens. And now restaurants can't be open because they don't have the workers. Because let's face it, a lot of white people in American citizens don't want to work in restaurants. They don't. They want to do something else with their life. And the market for immigrants has always been in these what we consider lower paying jobs. And that's their window for immigration into America. And we love the services, but for some reason we hate the service workers. And it's really silly. So, support your service workers because they're the ones that bring you your services. And we are a service-based economy now. So you can't be a service-based economy without service workers. It doesn't work that way. I just noticed I have 2 scratches on my cheek that I think Monkey Butt was boxing me earlier, and that's where I got little tiger stripes. This dog can kick the shit out of me when she wants to. She is so incredibly strong. Oh my goodness. She's like the highest strength to weight ratio of any creature I've ever met. She's like an ant. Okay. Christopher Sawchuk says Sears Holding has another omnibus hearing on October 26th. 26, baby. Some legal mumbo jumbo. Thank you, Chris. Oh, sorry, Christopher. Some people are called Christopher. Don't like being called Chris. Thank you, Christopher. Yeah. Sue Marshall says the price of Coca-Cola at Aldi markets has risen from 17 pence to 39. Interesting. BBR Germany, Houston, do you have PayPal? I don't have a credit card to bring money in. I do. This is probably going to result in me getting a whole bunch of spam emails from you weirdos. But it's under my email address. So I may have to block a bunch of weirdos now that I'm putting this out there. But it's pretty obvious that that's what it is. So I put it in the chat. So if you want to PayPal contributions, you can do it through there. Yeah. So I'm probably going to regret this. My email is probably going to explode. I'm just going to go, oh my. But yeah, so I put that in the chat there. I'm only 40 minutes behind in the chat at the moment. Okay. I've now gotten to the part of the chat where the people who like the Electoral College are championing the Electoral College. I don't think the Electoral College is important. I think the Electoral College was created out of a racist system to help plantation owners have more power than they should have. But now that we allow every single solitary citizen who is above 18 years old, men, women, property owners, not property owners, to vote, we don't need the Electoral College anymore. Electoral College is a redundant racist legacy of the old Constitution. And we should have gotten rid of Electoral College with the 13th and 14th Amendments. And just been like, bye-bye. No Hawaiian shirt today. This is, sorry, BBR Germany. This is my watermelon shirt. This is my fighting shirt. The last time I got in a fight, I was wearing this shirt. Because I was wearing this shirt, a young man decided to say some really homophobic remarks to me about my pink shirt. And I wasn't going to let that happen. So I was like, so, you already into older men? Is that what you are all about? You and your friends like to hit on older men at the mall? And this made the young man very angry. He took a swing at me. And he punched me on top of my head. And I went to kind of push him off me and accidentally chopped him in the throat. And so it resulted in essentially a child stumbling around hot dog on a stick in a mall going because I think I just snapped his windpipe. And yeah, so I left the mall so I wouldn't go to prison, and and that's, to be honest, that's the entire reason why I'm a T-Mobile customer to this day, because they weren't in the mall. I was on my way to possibly go to Singular, which is now AT&T, to buy a SIM card for my phone, and I didn't make it because I had got attacked by a homophobic child at Hot Dog on a Stick, and I've been a T-Mobile customer for 15 and a half years ever since because they weren't in the mall. But this is my fighting shirt. If you want to scrap, put on a pink shirt, because it takes a big man to wear a pink shirt. It takes an even bigger man to make fun of that man. All right. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Okay, so BBR, I put the, hopefully, I know I've only 20 minutes left in there. I put my email address in there for you. That's my only PayPal. Okay. And Get Real, I do have Cash App as well. So if you want to Cash App, you can do that as well. Okay. Alex Jones for president? Jordan. Alex Jones is insane. He is absolutely... My little sister's best friend was murdered at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, by a Nazi who had carved a swastika into his AR-15. And Alex Jones says that my little sister's best friend was a crisis actor and never actually died. I don't support Alex Jones in any way. And if I meet Alex Jones, I'm probably going to kick the shit out. I'll put on this shirt and kick the shit out of Alex Jones. That's probably what's going to happen. I don't appreciate Alex Jones, and I don't think he's funny. I don't think he's smart. I don't think he's wise. I think he's a fucking nut job and a danger to everybody. And he says the murder of my little sister's best friend was fake and was faked by crisis actors. And you know what? Fuck you, Alex Jones. Eat shit and die. That's what I'm going to say to Alex Jones. Okay. Let's get further. Let's get further down here so that I don't get too pissed off Alex Jones and spend the rest of my show talking about what a miserable cunt that guy is. And now I just said that, so I probably won't be able to get monetization. But Alex Jones sucks. That guy is a piece of shit, and there's nothing redeeming. There's not a single redeeming quality about him. He is a piece of human garbage. Okay. Daniel Motes, Houston, besides of dreaming about how MOAS might play out, what do you do when you are really bored? You are my second favorite streamer, right behind Lightning Warrior, production quality crazy. I do not have production quality, so I don't have that going for me. What do I do when I'm bored? I read a lot. Monkey Butt and I go for walks. I like to take nice long walks when we can. It's usually more of a spring, summertime thing. Weather's been a little terrible the last couple of days here, but we like to go for long walks. And wintertime, I go skiing. I do a lot of skiing in the winter. So when it's raining here, I'm really happy because that means it's snowing in the mountains. And what else do I do for fun when I'm really bored? I don't get really bored very often. I like to build stuff in the garage. I like to tinker with cars. I will play. I used to do like Microsoft Jigsaw puzzles, but now I'll play GeoGuessr. I'm addicted to GeoGuessr. I love that game. It really like tickles my brain a lot to try and figure out where I am there. And I feel like a little detective wandering around a countryside somewhere trying to figure out where I am. But yeah, I don't find myself bored that often. Hobbies are fun. Reading always takes up a lot of time. I read everything. I read like 3 or 4 newspapers a day, and then I try to read books that I can, and then I also like to get in arguments on Twitter, so that takes up a lot of my time too. So I guess that's probably my number one hobby, is getting in fights on Twitter with people. So yeah. So that's a great way to take up time. Just pick fights with people. Okay. All right. I'm going to try and scroll down and get to a little more current chats here because I'm so far behind. All right. Oh, Project Sun says he gave me bunk GPS coordinates. All right, buddy. Let's see if this one actually works this time. We're gonna go. Ba-doom. Click on the Google. Oops. Click on Google Earth. There. Come on, mouse. Get to the other screen. All right, Project Sun. Where are we going? We're going back to Belgium. We're crossing the globe. Going back. We are back in Brussels. We are in a different neighborhood. We are in, looks like a park. Ah, we got ourselves the big giant balls thingy. This is Atomium. So it's the big looking, I can go down street level probably. Look at this guy. It's the big sculpture made. Looks supposed to look like an atom or something. Come on, give me a street view. Get me to street view. Keep going. There we go. There's the big balls. So there's like geodesic looking domes attached to each other in a covalent bonded structure. So if you see a molecule that has a structure similar to this is going to be covalent bonding, meaning they are probably sharing an electron between them. So normally if this atom was off on its own, have little electrons orbiting around it, but because of the way it's attached, that the electron that would normally orbit around this and the electron would normally around that is actually one electron they're sharing. So that's covalent bonding. Makes for very strong bonding. Diamonds are covalent bonded in sort of what's the term? What's the term for the triangular octagonal truss? That's what this is. Octagonal structure. So Buckminster Fuller, when Buckminster Fuller was a small child, he invented the octagonal truss, which is these little three-sided pyramids that would attach to each other, three-sided pyramid prisms. And it's a really strong structure that's basically as strong as an arch. So if you go to a concert or something like that, you'll see the lighting structure of the stage is an octagonal truss of these little triangles that fit together. And it's modeled after covalent bonding of atoms. And something Buckminster Fuller invented, I think when he was like small. If I remember correctly, he was like 5 years old when he invented the octagonal truss. Which is another reason why Buckminster Fuller is a crazy weirdo, badass inventor, man. Yeah, this thing's cool. I love seeing weird stuff like this. I haven't been to Brussels. Can you like climb inside of this whole thing? Because there's stairs that go up to this one. But it makes me wonder if there's like tubes you can climb around in and go up to other. Are they what can you do inside here other than it just being just kind of a sculpture that has a little building inside of it? Interesting. All right, that's a much better spot than the weird neighborhood you took me to before there, protege. So, we got. Oh goodness, everyone's just giving me coordinates. We'll just do a few coordinates here. Why not? So we got Willie 44 sending me this one. Bing, bing. Take me somewhere. Okay, we're going to Great Britain. We are going to this field right here. Oh yeah, the naked man is a little wiener. Yeah, this is an ancient druid structure. Can't remember what it's called, but it's got a very outlined. Yes, Cernobos giant. And the pictures from down here are hilarious because his wiener is very, very. Come on, get out of the way, coordinates. People want to see the wiener. They don't want to see the coordinates. There we go. There's a schlonger for you. All right. And manifest density because let's go all over the place here. Okay, go North America. We're going to the U.S. We're going. Didn't we already go here yesterday? We went here yesterday. That's where we went yesterday. The Welcome to Cleveland in Milwaukee. Come on, that's a repeat. We did that one already. Okay, let's go back to Big Houston. Oh goodness, I haven't done my thank yous in a while. So let's do some thank yous for some more donations here. I finished on manifest density. I may have. So thank you, thank you, Chris Taylor. I think I did. Well, maybe finished on you. Kevin donated. Another anonymous. Apollo God donated. Thank you. Anonymous donated. Thank you so much. Walt Shavira. Thank you so much for your donation. We got a donation from Anonymous. Anna Rulnick donated. Thank you, Anna. And we got Anonymous, and Space Monkey all donated. Thank you so much. We're up to over $1,300 raised so far. You guys rule. You guys are fantastic. I think I'm about to set the goal much higher for our MS charity and next month. Man, you guys kick butt. So fantastic. Okay. Anna Rulnick says, "Hi Houston, would you say happy birthday to Mary Pants for me? It's her birthday this week, and she listens to you. Happy birthday, Mary Pants." What a pantiful name that is. That Canadian dude, where'd the kid with hot dog on a stick come from? He was just standing outside Hot Dog on a Stick as I was walking by on my way to the Singular store, and decided that he and his buddies were going to make fun of me in my pink shirt. And again, the rule is it takes a big man to wear a pink shirt. It takes an even bigger man to make fun of that man. So, the law of tonnage. If you don't have the mass to make fun of someone for their shirt, then you shouldn't do it. Because especially I'm not going to take a bunch of homophobic comments from a I don't know how old that kid was, 14, whatever. Like, don't pop off to people bigger than you. Okay. Resident Flea's asking, how's school? School's fine. Intro week is always weird. Because you get new kids that come in and you've never taught them before, so you got to do your icebreakers and get them all like amped and ready and familiar. And my favorite icebreaker to do is I do what's your name, where are you from, what's your major, and what's your favorite scar, and then tell a scar story. So I introduce myself, tell them who I am, where I'm from, what my degrees are in, what I teach, my interests, and then I talk about a scar story. And I've got lots of scars. I've been hit by cars, smashed in the face with baseball bats, fallen off cliffs, flipped cars. I've got scars everywhere, but for some reason, I still exist, and I should be dead several times over. And I tell a scar story. I just pick one of them. I tell one, and then we go around the classroom. People tell their scar stories, and they don't have to tell their scar story if they don't want to, because sometimes like the scar they're thinking about might be triggering, and like if you don't, you can say pass. You can just say where you're from and whatnot. But it's always amazing, especially in my math classes where because I've taught at art schools and I taught at film schools, that a large reason why these students are in art college is because they failed math in high school. Let's face it. That's kind of one of the ways you get into art school. And so being in a college, even algebra class or like a lower level math class in college, these folks are absolutely petrified. They've so much anxiety about being in this classroom, and I have them go around and tell their scar stories. And I have, in a class of 25 students, I'll have 5 that should be dead. Like some of them have been dead and been revived. They have the defibrillators bring them back to life, or have CPR bring them back to life, or learn to walk and talk again. It's absolutely nuts what people survive. I had a student that had his leg blown off with a landmine, got shot 6 times by Serbian troops, and then his head run over by a Serbian tank, and he's alive. I had a dude that fell off a 4-story parking structure at a construction site and landed on a piece of rebar that threaded between his femoral artery and his femur. And they had to cut the piece of concrete off, and he had to get taken to the hospital by like a forklift, right? And he survived. I've had a dude that had flesh-eating bacteria. I had someone that survived a drive-by shooting. I had a guy that had gotten electrocuted by a 440 industrial volt and was dead for 9 minutes. It's absolutely mind-boggling what these folks have survived. And we get to the end of it, and I'm like, okay, so all of you should be dead. None of you should be alive right now. Why is algebra so scary if you survive that? Like, this class does not matter. It doesn't. You survived being electrocuted by 440 volts, and you had your heart basically exploded. And guess what? You're here taking a math class now. Like, your work as an electrician, much more terrifying than anything that I'm going to do in this math class. And all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, it kind of puts it in perspective for them. Like, it's not that big a deal. You shouldn't have that much anxiety over, making one side of an equation equal the other side of an equation. So it's really, and because it also takes me forever to remember people's names, but I will remember their scar stories for the rest of my life. Even the ones that have like, oh, I fell off my bike once and I got a little elbow scratch. I'm like, elbow scratch kid, cool. and I'll know them as Elbow Scratch Kid for like 4 weeks before I ever actually remember their name. And it's something I learned. I did the Wilderness First Responder course like 20 years ago, and that was the introduction. Like a group of people from all over the country learning how to be first responders out in the wild, and it was, what's your name? What's your favorite scar? And people told just gnarly stories, and I think it's a great icebreaker, and it's a great way to learn people and to figure out, like, some of them are funny. There's always every single class. There's always someone who had a cigarette put out on them by one of their friends. But then I had one guy who was like, my friend would like put a cigarette on me, and then he smoked my arm, and weird stuff like that. And about half of them are, so we were drinking, right? And then I decided to grab a rattlesnake. So there's a lot of those. I had one kid that had these little scratches all over his face, and his scars, like, hey, you can see my scars. I got in a fight with my girlfriend, and she threw the cat at me. And this cat just ripped his face to shreds. I'm like, dude, that's probably a domestic violence that she did to you right there. But he's like, meh, now I've got these scratches all over my face. So yeah, I mean, all of you in the chat, I'm sure every single one of you have a weird scar story that you could tell, and it'd be absolutely memorable. And you'd be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be alive. Because the people who make it to this point are survivors. Every single person who makes it to this point in life is a survivor. And you've all survived something really gnarly and that probably should have killed you, and somehow made it out either unscathed or with a really bitchin' scar that has a story behind it. Scar on my chin, hit by a car, right? Got a scar on my lip. That's where I was hit by a baseball bat and my teeth went through my lip. And, the stuff happens to us, and we survive those things all day, every day. Okay. All right. I got 22 minutes left of our Tuesday charity show. Again, I want to thank everybody for donating in here. Got another anonymous donation. Thank you so much, anonymous. Let's see. Oh, and of course the chat just reset here. So I missed probably a whole hour of chat in here. I'm trying to get back caught up again. So I'm sorry if I missed questions or comments from you. Yeah. Okay, there's the Mary Pants one. Okay, Hayden J. Houston is a badass. I'm not a badass. I'm just a guy who has a really short fuse sometimes. Go martial arts. Who's your sensei? My sensei was a guy named Virgil Rogers, who actually passed away a few years ago. He had Parkinson's. He was absolutely just a mountain of a man, though. Virgil was a sweetheart, too. I remember when I hit my growth spurt, I went from 5'4", 118 pounds to 6'4", 118 pounds in less than a year. It was like 9 months. I gained 0 weight, and I just became this like string bean. My mom called it my praying mantis stage. I was 13 into 14 years old, and I'm in karate class with Virgil, and Virgil's trying to like demonstrate how to shove somebody. So there's a way you you don't just push at somebody. You can kind of knock them over, but if you kind of push up, you knock them off their feet and they go flying. And so Virgil called me over and was like, let's do a demonstration. So here I am, super skinny, gangly, praying mantis Houston. And Virgil is not actually shoving me. He's just kind of tapping me to like show the motion of you kind of hunker down low and you push up at someone and it knocks them off their feet and pushes them over. And in his like gentle demonstration, I flew across the entire dojo and then smacked into the mirrors at the far end and shattered one of the mirrors. And the look on Virgil's face was just like, like he just killed one of his students by accident. And it was just the gentlest like flick, and I just flew. I flew across this room, just like watching everyone just get smaller as they disappeared from view, and then smacked into this mirror and shattered it. And it blew my mind how much force the gentlest touch from this man had on me, and it just popped a circuit in my brain that someone could actually do that even by accident. It was eye-opening. Yeah, Virgil Rogers was a hell of a guy. He ended up marrying my friend's mom. He's just a really cool dude. He passed away maybe 2008, 2009 is when he passed away. So yeah, Virgil Rogers, you're a champion among men, and I owe a lot of hours of my life to learning things from you in the dojo. I also, when I was a little kid in Japan, my dad had me go to karate class, and I had no idea what was going on because their sensei refused to speak English to me. He would just yell at me in Japanese and force me to do things. And I had no idea what was going on. And one day, he's trying to show us this punching move. It's like if you're stuck up close against someone, you punch him in the kidneys. And he's saying the stuff in Japanese, and I have no idea what he's saying. But he's like trying to show me on the body where he punched someone. And finally, the only thing he said to me in English, period, in like the 3 months I was in this class, is he gets in my face and he goes, "One good hit in kidney, no pee-pee, too weak." And I was like, what's a kidney? So to this day, it cracks me up thinking about that guy just staring at me. One good hit in kidney, no pee-pee, too weak. So yeah, it's true. You can make someone piss blood if you hit him in the kidney hard enough. All right. Okay. All right. Boss says the Citadel Twitter doesn't represent Citadel LLC, the hedge fund. They are the market maker part of Citadel. Interesting. Well, the market makers are the ones that do those payment for order flows for everybody. So, it's kind of like saying that my left arm isn't attached to my right arm. They're attached to each other. They violate all sorts of ethical things by being a market maker as well as a hedge fund. They're donating. Oh, BBR, thank you so much for donating there via PayPal. Thank you. I'll make sure that gets in there. DEA got the dope. Do you think there will be a false flag event that will draw attention from the MOAS? They did that before. I think they tried. I think they've tried to get people to jump ship. Like they did a few months ago. They tried to get everybody into Rocket Mortgage. They're like, no, GameStop isn't the play. You got to get into Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage is the real play. And Rocket Mortgage went from like $20 to $40, and the next day it was back down to $20 again. And the folks that sold at 40, they made money, but the hedge funds sold at 40. Everyone else were mostly bag holders that just rode that back over again, and Rocket Mortgage was right back to $20. So they try to get everyone's attention to move quite a bit from these things, and I don't think it quite works all the time. So yeah, they'll try. Simon asks, Houston, what are your thoughts on the stock BNGO? Looks to be pretty correlated with GME, and I'm aware that Citadel has been a large put position on BNGO. What do you think of their Cypher product? I don't know anything about BNGO, so I'm going to look them up. There's so many tiny little stocks out there that, everything gets shorted. That's the only way these short hedge funds make money is by shorting things. So BNGO, I'm going to have to look them up and see what they look like. Maybe we'll take a quick gander at turn off Google Earth, go back to there. Nuclear power plants, BNGO. Bio Nano Geonomics. So it's trading at $5. Quick thing, look at your total. All right. So they had a little pop second week of February, and a little pop come in with the other stocks there. So it went up to $12. So a little push during that baby squeeze. I don't know what the short interest is. What's Fintel say for us? Oh, of course it's locked behind. I don't have a Fintel thing. Market beat, give us a market short interest 16%. It's in a previous market, 16% would set off all sorts of alarm bells for everyone, but now at 16%, everyone's like meh. So I guess it comes down to how much naked shorting there is that's unreported on those guys, and if they are going to jump Bio. What do they do? What? They're obviously a bio company. Do something with genetics. Short read sequencing provides comprehensive genome analysis. So it looks like they do PCR stuff, and they do probably have big computers that sequence the genomes. I don't know how much of that is revolutionary. If they've got new products coming out, maybe something to look at. I'll have to look deeper. I'll have to look deeper into those, Simon, and see what else is coming out of those guys. Mark Browning, my cousin is a longshoreman. He saw the uranium go to Russia. Really? Because it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to be going to Russia. It's supposed to be going to U.S. groups. So that's some shady things. That uranium should not be leaving the United States. It should be used for the U.S. only. That's part of the loss. So if they're violating that law, somebody who's a regulator should probably look into that and make sure that uranium isn't leaving. All right. Boss says there's a museum inside that's now escalators between the balls with psychedelic art in the walls. I'll send you a vid I took there 15 years ago. Oh, thank you, boss. That's for the atom. What do they call it? Atomic the balls, the big molecule thing in Brussels. Okay. All right. Dennis Vutos, bonjour, Houston. Would you buy more metamaterial or GME presently? I'm debating because of the dividend of metamaterial before 2022 and the potential squeeze. With that money, I would buy more GME. That is kind of my goal. I've got a whole bunch of metamaterial calls, and they're doing pretty well the last couple of days. They did really well at the beginning of the month, and then they just kind of, but they're popping right back up again. I am greedy, and I'm hoping for more action on them and to have it go up and to get some sweet cash I can use to buy up more GME while GME is kind of flatlining at the 180 to 200 range. So yeah, I will definitely be picking up more GME with those calls when I finally get the balls to sell them. And that's, hey, pick up another 10 or 12 GMEs with it, maybe 20 GMEs if I'm lucky, maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 100. I don't know. And if metamaterial flies to the roof, I could definitely welcome that. Okay. Space Monkey, HYG puts. Yeah, the HYG puts are doing well. The bond market's going right now. So I've got a set of them for November, and let's see if they finally start printing for me. Okay, I got Chris Taylor sent me some coordinates. Let's go coordinate hunting. Where are we going? Where are we going in the world? Where are we going? What? Couldn't understand. Why can't you understand? Maybe if I delete that, and if I delete that, does that work? Still can't understand. You jerk. Why can't you understand? If I put a space, and I put a space, and I go like that. Nope. Sorry, Chris Taylor. It's not liking these coordinates. And I can't figure out why it's not liking these coordinates. I have to put spaces after all these things. Maybe I'll make them happy. Will that work? Nope. Sorry, Chris Taylor. It's not liking those coordinates. It's not letting me do anything there. I do not know why. I do not know why. All right. Sorry. All right. Boss, I'll check my email. I'll see the inside of those balls. Thank you. All right. I've got 10 minutes left until I got to get running. So, yes, thank you so much for donating to the Helen Keller International today. in helping folks with vision impairment either regain sight or help them improve their quality of life by learning how to navigate the world. I love these charity shows. I love how we can use them to do good. Like, why not? It's the best way to be donating something, raise some money, and help others. Like, this is what I hope the whole ape movement is all about, is being able to do good with what we have. Okay, Mikkel Ebjerg. I hope not. Ebjerg? Am I saying that right? I have a friend named Mikkel. Love the stream. Check out this place close to where I'm from. All right, let's hope these coordinates work. Go like that, and oh, we're flying. We're flying close to where Mikkel is. He is somewhere in Sweden. It's a nice looking beach. There we go. All right, so we got a high bank beach. What's there? That's the Geocenter, Mons Klint. All right, Mons Klint. Can you see the picture? Is that? Oh, it's some big cliffs. Maybe we can go down to. How do I want to turn. No, I want to turn you. Turn. There we go. There's a trail that goes down to that beach. Very pretty. Very pretty. What we got here? Mons Klint. Oh, you can't see that picture either. But there's some really cool white cliffs here. I'm not sure what the white cliffs are made of. Looks like sandstone of some kind. Probably glacial deposits. Here, I think it's the Lawton clay, and the sand that gets deposited on top is it the Vashon sand? Vashon? I can't remember. But so if we want to talk about glaciers, so when we get ice ages, we get these giant glaciers that basically come creeping out of the north and start smashing everything. And of course, we're not facing north, so let's face north. There we go. So these glaciers, they come out of the north, and they come out of the south too, on the southern hemisphere, and they make for all these fjords. So all these glaciers, they come out of the mountains, and they work down, they scrape, and they dig deep caverns. But when the really big glaciers come down, especially in waterways like this, so a glacier can come down and block off this entire sea. Like, so the Baltic Sea can possibly have no outlet. So all the rivers, the Volga River and the Inn and the Seine and all these rivers that might come north through these nations, they fill up the Baltic Sea, and the Baltic Sea ends up becoming this giant lake, and so it will fill with water as a result. And as it fills with water, a lot of sand and clay get deposited, and so you'll get huge sand deposits in places like where Mikkel's from. So it happens here, and also happens all the way across the world where I'm from. So it's very similar. We get over here to the Great Pacific Northwest. You can see just from the squiggly yellow lines that of the borders that there's tons of fjords all through here as well, just like in Sweden and Norway and Finland. And we can go to places like the south end of Whidbey Island here, and we can see, I don't know if you can see very well, but you can see that we've got these big giant sand cliffs the same way. Basically the same type of form, and they form from glaciers as well. So even like the beaches can kind of look similar with these like sticks and stuff. And so we can look at Puget Sound, which is the little sea that I live on, the Salish Sea here, which is Puget Sound, Juan de Fuca, and the Straits of Georgia. And the glaciers came down and they blocked off Juan de Fuca. So all the water that was flowing out from the river systems of this mountain range here, the Cascade Mountains, filled up and made the entire Puget Sound this giant freshwater lake. And so a lot of sand and clay got deposited in that lake before the glaciers came down and scoured out more stuff. So there's a whole bunch of sand in this region as a result. So there's some places that are kind of dune-ish. So if we go into Seattle, and this is Magnuson Park, which used to be Fort Lawton, there's actually little sand dunes that are here. So it's like a little sandy area full of dunes, and the cliffs. I can zoom out and see some cliffs here. the cliffs can be pretty steep. This camera angle from the satellite doesn't quite show, but there's a whole bunch of like not quite sandstone, it hasn't quite solidified yet, and then these thick layers of clay. There's even people like have dug out little clay caverns along the cliffside here, and so there's like little clay caverns along there, and all that's from the glaciers. And so where Mikkel's from and where I'm from have very similar geologic histories with relating to glaciers, and that's why I see tons of fjords, really big fjords like Hood Canal, which is not a canal. It was a misnomer from, I think, Captain Vancouver's group, and they called it Hood Channel, but it's still not a channel. It's actually a fjord. So, and Puget Sound is a fjord as well. It's a big fjord. Fjord. I love that word. So you can see, you got lots of fjords in northern places. So similar fjords going on in, like, especially the coast of Norway, lots along there. And if we go, I'm going to organize my globe again. We head further south. We go to places like Tierra del Fuego in southern Chile, tons of fjords again, because the glaciers all came this way as well and filled up South America and made for lots of fjording. Okay, I got a few minutes left. Let's see what other questions folks have. And I want to thank again all the people who have donated. I should probably jump in and okay, so Allison donated. Got Josh Walker donated. Abel Guerrero donated. Thank you so much. Did I miss anybody? I want to make sure I thank you all. Space Monkey, got you. All right. Thanks again for donating to the charity today. We raised a bunch of money, and all the people that watch later, the commercials that play are going to raise money for them as well. So probably get another few $100 out of people that watch later. So send it to your friends, make them at least watch the commercials, and then that money goes to the Helen Keller International as well. So right on. Discovery Park. Sorry, not Magnuson. You're right. Discovery Park. Magnuson Park is on the other side. That's the one that's out in Redmond. Discovery Park. Thank you, flight guy. You corrected me. That's where I was in Seattle. Not at Magnuson. I was in Discovery Park. Okay. All right. Let's get another good question here. And all right. Bobby Norwood, Houston, have you looked in donor-advised funds as a charitable vehicle after MOAS? You can write off up to 100% of adjusted gross income if it happens this year. I have not. Donor-advised funds. I'll have to look that up. I know nothing about them. Donor-advised funds. I'm going to look that up. I know nothing about donor-advised funds, but if it gives for huge write-offs, and they do good work. Let's go. Let's check them out. Donor-advised funds. That's going to be something I'm going to look up right when I'm done here before I have to run. Okay. Clive Calculator, Citadel have started ranting again on Twitter. Really rattled. They also make a moon reference. They do. I'm going to check out what else they're talking about. Because what I saw last night, they seemed like, King Griffin is God. He never does any wrong. All these claims people are making are wrong. But we can read the email messages that have been brought to light in discovery of the lawsuit against Robinhood and others for turning off the buy button. And basically, it's collusion is what's happened. This is an illegal conspiracy between Citadel and those who use Citadel as a market maker and a payment for order flow trading system. Like, if Citadel wants to come after me, all I have to do is submit all the documents that have already been submitted, in that they were in on it together. They knew what was going on. They're bad guys. They are the bad guys. We are the good guys. And that's simple as that. Okay. That's it. I think that might be it for today. Let's call it quits today. I want to thank everyone so much for donating. We're going to do another charity show for the National MS Society next month. And so fourth Tuesday of next month is going to be another big charity show. So save up your dineros. And, we didn't get the big green day like we were so lucky last month. So hopefully, maybe October we'll have that big giant green day, and we will raise even more money for the MS Society when we can. Thank you so much. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves, and enjoy your day. And I'll be doing my regular show tomorrow, and then I'll be doing one Friday night because I'm stuck. I'm teaching Friday days this quarter, so I won't be able to do any daytime shows on the Fridays. So I'll be Friday night. So for your night owls, Fridays will be Houston After Dark. And then look for me jumping on Twitter, not Twitter, Twitch. And I'll be playing some rather boring games and answering questions too, possibly late at night, a few nights a week. And I'll see you there. All right, everybody. And just for all of you folks, we'll do the outro. Bye-bye.